Hello, my name is Millie Harris, and in this video, I will be discussing my workflow for how I created a unique scene design using the Fatal Solitude Asset Pack by Noah Mastery, now available on the Unity store. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the design process, but for more info on getting the asset pack set up in Unity, check out the tutorial made by the creator on the Unity page for the asset pack. The first step in creating our environment is making a reference board with inspiration for the mood, setting, layout, and experience that an observer should feel when looking at the world you create. The direction I decided to take for my reference board and environment in general was inspired by the earthy and rocky feel that many of the assets in the pack have. This inspired me to create an underground cave scene that is designed as a living entertainment space in a universe where humans or life forms exist underground. Now that we have gathered some references for the mood and general environment we want to create, it's time to start blocking things out. I'll begin by making a duplicate of the environment piece's scene that contains all of the assets from the pack. Once in my own scene, I can move things around and make changes while still being able to go back to the original scene as a reference. For the underground space, I'm going to be using the background sphere object that has inverted UVs as my main background piece for the cave walls. This will allow us to look into the underground cave from our camera perspective. I applied one of the rocky ground textures to it as a starting point. Once I have that scaled how I like, I position the camera so that I know where to place structures to create the most visually interesting layout, taking a lot of inspiration from the references. To create the underground rocky effect, I'm using a variety of the rocks offered in the pack and scaling them into all different shapes and sizes. I want the focal point of the environment to be a large circular door at the back of the room. So my goal is to create a fairly open space with all of the other objects generally drawing the eye to it. I will achieve this by having a larger rock formation toward the front of the camera and slowly getting smaller to the vanishing point that is the door, making it seem like the cave goes back fairly deep. After having the general blockout of the walls and door, I went in and just continued to duplicate rocks, scaling them in a variety of different ways to create unique shapes to break apart the different areas and faces. I also used some of the other environment models from the pack to create protruding shapes around the door, inspired by my reference. In the starter scene, there are already a bunch of lights set up that I decided to pick and choose from and adjust to fit my mood. Because this environment is entirely underground, I want the lighting to feel very artificial. To create this effect, I made sure that the sunlight objects in the scene were turned to zero, so that it was being entirely lit by point and spotlights. Additionally, using lighting that is fluorescent and clearly coming from a particular source is a good way to make it feel very artificial and fitting in this underground space. In addition to the lighting, I created a simple fog particle system with a horizontal velocity, gravity, and colliders on the particles so they roll across the cave floor. The final step in the environment design is post-processing. I just tweaked a few simple values such as bloom and fog. I also adjusted the depth of field on the camera so that the foreground objects appear blurry and the back of the cave at the door is in focus, bringing attention to the focal point of my scene. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch me work through the process of setting up an environment using the Fatal Solitude Asset Pack. If you are interested in creating a futuristic or sci-fi level of your own, I definitely recommend checking out this modular pack available on the Unity Asset Store.